active. And then cohort 2, like I said, we did opt-in. We had an application, a sign-up link. We have 72 students, so about 136. There's a lot of students. We are still a small program. 36% of our entire cohort are women of color. So that's in total. So that transitions to this. Here are some of our women scholars. So in our GEL freshman seminar class, we had them post a picture. We had them write a little blurb about themselves, like their favorite snack and whatnot. So I have these pictures. This isn't even like the 36%. This is a very small sample, but these are the women I want to talk about. So they're majors. This is just in our program. So most of them are biochem or chemistry. We have some computer science, some engineering, math and physics in general in our program are pretty low numbers. I think we have like 3 physics majors and maybe. But I do want to mention these numbers because I want to mention that a lot of our students, I'm not including biology, right? A lot of our biochem and chemistry, this is their second choice of a major. They apply to get into bio, but it's impacted. It's very full, very hard to get into. So they were allowed to put a second major and that's what they chose. So a lot of them are already feeling a little shaky in their major. And I've seen that throughout the whole year, last year and this year already. So I want to focus on that, like a lot of career exploration, because a lot of them, as Dr. Stewart talked about, there's a lot of bias, there's a lot of gender roles, right? So when I do speak with them anecdotally, it's a lot of, oh, this was my second choice, and I think I want to go into healthcare. I'm like, okay, great. What would you like to do? There's lots of things to do in healthcare. The majority of the time they say a nurse because their family told them, oh, you want to go into healthcare? Be a nurse. And so I want to like expand that. I want them to see that's fine to think nursing is a great major, and they can't get into nursing at our school once they're at our school. They can't just switch over. So a lot of them are looking into transferring. So like I said, the retention thing, that retention is hard. It's very risky. So that's why in this program, I let them know, okay, that's great. Let's keep that open for you. That's what you want to do, but let's also explore. So I just wanted to mention that because it is something I see all the time. Really quickly, we did host events last year. We're hosting a lot more this year. We did an event last week and I expected like 15 people to show up and I had like 25 people show up. So it's growing. More people are feeling comfortable to come on campus. But last year we did a bunch of stuff, some major career stuff, navigating, others were for fun. So I have one of our scholars up there under the math encouragement. And so that's Luna. She's one of our tutors. She's a computer science major. And so she was just explaining her experience. I had her record so we could share with everybody if they couldn't make it to her talk. Basically, she did everything that I talked about. She did the early start program. She did the math boot camp. She got into calculus. She was able, actually now she's in the second part of calculus. She's done with the math pathway, which is great for her major. So I kind of wanted her to share her experience with that. And I think other people are like, oh, okay, it is actually possible if we take advantage of the resources. We also did some career exploration. I have some friends from UCSD that go to the medical school, and they're all from different parts in the medical school, like starting, some people are in their 4th years, one person was applying. So I kind of wanted to throw that. I individually sent emails to our people interested in like healthcare, and we had a good turnout for that. We had a Halloween celebration, that was a little fun. Guidance on stuff like enrollment. I do an enrollment workshop every semester. Every semester I have students, well, come into Zoom, but now in person, hybrid, and we talk about how to enroll. And we do breakout rooms, we help them with specific questions. So yeah, do that every semester. What I'm working on, and we've done in the past, are alumni speakers. So we actually have Gloria Diaz, and she was one of Dr. Sue's students at one point. She studies chemistry at the University of Michigan. So we had her talk about her research, and she showed us, this is one thing I want to transition to. She showed us her lab. She showed us videos of her doing work. And that's really, really important. I think back to my experience, I didn't see a woman in the lab maybe until the end of my junior year. And that was a chemistry lab. And that was a big impact on me. It was like, oh, why haven't I seen a woman in the lab? That's weird. So that's what I want to do for our scholars. I want to expose them to women in research. I want to expose them to women in industry, which is why I'm great to reach out to you all, because I want to do more of that. And our alumni are great at showcasing that. I have a couple like testimonials. We did do focus groups last spring just to see how they were doing in math, how they were doing with the program. Were they using our resources? Was there anything we could do better? I won't read all of these, but the main one I'll read is that first one. So I had a student and she was struggling in that intro math course, and she just couldn't get out of it. And she was using tutoring a little bit virtually. In the summer, she went in person to the course. She went to tutoring in the course or on campus. She met with our math coordinator. She maintained a study plan. She did her homework at her like center. And she said, it's much better. I feel much more confident. So that meant a lot to us. She was using our resources and she felt better. But our main takeaway is we do feel confident that we are making a positive impact. There's clear evidence of students connecting with us and reaching out. You know, we kind of did that reach out in the beginning and like, hey, like I can help you. This is what I can help you with. And so it's hard virtually by an email, right, to get like the reach back, like, okay, help me with this. But once we did it one-on-one, like personal emails, personal Zoom, now that if I meet in person, they drop by, that like connection, like human to human, person to person, it is helping. And we can kind of say things in passing by, right? Hey, go to tutoring. Oh, hey, like you're interested in engineering research. I know this professor. Let me walk you over to their lab. They're probably there. Oh, let me connect you with Dr. Sue. He'll help you connect. Like it is much easier in person just because we can walk them over, physically be there for them. Okay. And then I just wanted to talk about quickly kind of like our numbers and where students are now. So like I mentioned, we started with 64, 55 of those students have been retained. That doesn't mean they have like left our program completely. Some students either changed their major. And so yeah, they did leave in that case, but some are taking classes at community college. Some are taking a break. The pandemic was very tough on them and they asked us, can I take a semester off? Yeah. You are very welcome to come back. I still send emails to them. They still reach out to me. So they're not completely gone, but we have lost a couple of our students. 7 of those are completely done with the math pathway, done. They finished all these courses. That is a big deal starting from Math 101 during virtual learning with limited resources and like stresses outside of school. That is like a huge accomplishment for us to finish 4 classes. Oh my goodness, it's amazing. So that's really good news. We also have 17 students on track. So that means they're either in this pre-calculus course or they're starting calculus this year. So that's also good news. And the rest of the students are either here, which is okay, or they're still here because they're struggling in the course. So those students are receiving advising and we're still in contact with them. They've come by my office. We're trying to give them the resources they need to like be supported in the math pathway. Now out of cohort 2, like I said, we reached out to 158, 72 have opted in. Already started the semester, we're like week 3 in, I think this week, 4 are already in calculus. That is amazing. Semester has not even started. They took a summer course. They did the math placement. They went to tutoring over the summer. So that's like, it's a really big deal for us. They're gonna be done with the math pathway and in their major by the 2nd semester of their freshman year. That's awesome. And then 10 are actually going to go to pre-calculus, which is also a big deal. They're almost there. They can possibly take some major courses. And lastly, this is my last slide, looking into the future. Now that we're in person, now that I've had a year under my belt, what are some things we can continue to do? What are some connections we can do? What are some new things we can do? So I definitely want to continue that sense of belonging. I've talked a lot in my seminar course, but in general, I've talked to them about growth mindset. We talked a lot about imposter syndrome. So a lot of our women don't feel like they belong in their major. Like I mentioned, some of them, it was their second choice, so they're not very confident. So we try and encourage like, okay, especially in math, for example. Like a lot of them are like, I'm just not good at math. I'm like, who told you that? And they can never like come up with who told them. They're like, I don't know. I just feel like that's true. I'm like, but why? So we try to encourage, okay, that's not true. Not people aren't innately good at something. They actually have to practice. They actually have to like keep doing something to be good at it. Like coding is a good example for computer science majors. I had a student come in and she said in her class, like she and another girl, it's like a seminar course. So they're not coding yet. They're just talking like about research and they just feel like, oh, sorry, it was engineering. They just feel like different. Like they're like, oh, all these people know how to do this and that. And like, I don't know anything. I'm like, you're a freshman. This is your first semester. People have different skill sets. Let's have a growth mindset. Okay, you don't feel confident. Let's see how you can grow in that course. Like ask your professor, connect with your professor. So I'm definitely like going to continue to do that. We're still going to do in-person hybrid events. We actually have a space where they can hang out and get tutoring. And I've already had students show up. It's very, very nice to see. We want to host more events to connect the students with the faculty, like I explained, especially faculty advisors. I want to promote, like I said, the early research experiences. We have lots of researchers. I would love to get them connected. Also outside of campus into industry. Right now I'm looking into Rady's Children's Hospital. I have a connection there and they have a lab full of women that do PCR testing for diseases, childhood diseases. And I'm like, oh, that's like every major. That's engineering, that's computer science, that's chemistry, biochemistry. Let's do it. Math. So I'm looking into outside sources as well. And then lastly, I want to make sure they get support to get to that upper division. Our sophomores, especially because they had their last year high school online, first year of university online. Now they're like hybrid, kind of in person. I want them to feel comfortable going into junior year with their major. So I'm also working on how can I do that? I want to make that successful. And with that, I end my presentation. I welcome any questions, any suggestions. Thank you so much for listening. I really, really appreciate this opportunity. Stop sharing.
Yes, thank you, Sarah, so much for that wonderful presentation and sharing your slides. I do believe we'll probably want to, if you don't mind sharing those slides with either Teresa or Sally so we can keep it in our notes for future archives as well. And I welcome any questions from the audience that we might have. I haven't been checking the chat, sorry.
I have one direct message. So how can AAUW be an ally and support our program? And then also your students would be eligible for a scholarship program. Yes, Rochelle and I have actually talked about this. So Cal State San Marcos has a scholarship like period from October to February. I'm gonna run a couple workshops in my class and outside of my class. And I definitely will mention AAUW and I wanna do that. But I also wanna mention Rochelle and I have talked of opening like a chapter. I think we have a chapter, but during the pandemic, things got kind of lost. So I want to direct our women to that chapter at our school as well. And maybe we can do some events and collaborate. That would be great. So those are two really great ways I think AAUW can be an ally.
You know, I had a question, Sarah, and it might be pretty elementary, but you mentioned that some of the students this wasn't their first choice. What was their first choice? Like in biology, is it because they want to go into nursing, or what was it exactly that's impacting them from going into that major?
Yeah, most of them do want to go into nursing. So like out of the 36% that I mentioned of our entire cohort, a good majority of them were interested in that. I do have a couple that were like, oh, biology is general and it is very broad major in science where they can do a lot of things. So I do have a couple of those students as well, where they're freshmen, they're like 17, 18 years old. So they thought if I choose a really broad major, maybe I can like choose something later in my junior year, for example. So yeah, but we do have a lot of people who wanted to be in the nursing program or who just wanted to be bio and then transfer to a nursing program.
So, Sarah, what I have seen is that a lot of people choose nursing or pre-med or other disciplines because they don't really know what's out there yet, and so we're
correct.
get more career counseling into that freshman year of take these classes to get to this pathway, take this class to get